Chapter 275, Training Effect Positioning 2. After the 3-month protection period for new students, the students would have more autonomy in the course selection and learning arrangements. Zhu Tui adjusted his condition with his breathing. Then, he took the first diagram of the ultra-precision nano-dimension diagram that Kukingshan had given him. This was a map with a precision of 100 nanometers. Although the main direction of human research had changed to genetic evolution, scientific research was also steadily advancing. Furthermore, due to certain gains from outer space, some aspects of technology had even received explosive developments. Zhu Tui focused his attention on the first ultra-precision nano 3-dimensional diagram. The precision of the diagram was slowly increasing from the edge to the inside. The pattern on the edge was 1 millimeter. It was very clear and visible to the naked eye. 100 microns was basically the size of a strand of hair. It was still visible to the naked eye, but it was a little difficult to distinguish the contents of the pattern on it. However, it was very simple for him to see through with his mental perception. It was a very exquisite little tree. He continued to look into the middle. The 10-micron area was filled with extremely tiny roses. To the naked eye, that area was a black dot. However, he could still see it clearly with his mental perception. Then there was the 1-micron area. There was no pressure on him. Soon, he moved to an area of 100 nanometers. It was a little blurry. Zhu Tui's mental perception was still not able to clearly sense what was happening. However, his mental perception and vision were still limited. His vision was like that. No matter how hard he tried, he could not see anything. However, as long as he continued to strengthen his mental perception, the pattern that he could not see clearly would slowly become clearer. 5 minutes later, Zhu Tui's expression changed slightly. He gradually saw the strokes on the 100 nanometer sized dot. This is the word you. The word is desire in Chinese. Zhu Tui placed the diagram aside after he confirmed that he had seen it clearly. Did I take 5 minutes for the first diagram? I wonder how long the other students took. Zhu Tui took the second diagram with this doubt. According to Kukingshan, if he felt tired during the sensing process, he had to rest. However, he did not feel anything. In the second diagram, the outermost area was 100 microns, followed by 10 microns, 1 micron, and 100 nanometers. The core area was 10 nanometers. Before reaching 100 nanometers, there was no pressure at all. With his previous experience, Zhu Tui only took 2 minutes to complete the 100 nanometers on the second diagram. He looked at the 10 nanometers. 10 nanometers was equivalent to shrinking 10 times the size of 100 nanometers. Even when he used his mental perception to look over it first, he could not see anything. The effect of patience was displayed at this moment. His mental perception was like a magnifying glass that slowly enlarged the core image. 15 minutes later, Zhu Tui's mental strength slowly left the second diagram. This second diagram has the word you. The word is with in Chinese. He could see the second diagram clearly. However, Zhu Tui did not immediately use his mental perception to see the third diagram. Although he did not feel tired after he finished looking at the second diagram, he felt a little tense. Looks like I'm about to reach my limit. 10 minutes later, Zhu Tui began to sense the third diagram. The repeated area in front of him quickly passed. The second diagram's core pattern took Zhu Tui 15 minutes. This time, it only took him 5 minutes to see it clearly. He looked at the core pattern of the third diagram again. The precision of the core pattern of the third diagram was 1 nanometer. This was very, very fine. Even if one used the microscope, they would have to use the scientific research microscope to see it. It was very, very difficult to see it with his mental perception. 10 minutes passed. Half an hour later, Zhu Tui gained nothing. He continued to persevere. An hour passed. Still nothing. Zhu Tui's mental perception left the third diagram. He rubbed his slightly uncomfortable brows and the side of his head. He was not mentally exhausted, but he felt extremely tense. The tightness made Zhu Tui feel that his eyes were swollen, even though he did not look with his eyes. It's about time. It should have a certain effect on training. I can try to locate it. If I were to follow the normal practice of a student, I would rest and continue training. But this is different. Zhu Tui immediately consumed a bottle of level E energy restoration elixir. He then took the third diagram. He focused his attention and began to sense the third diagram with his mind. It might have been because the break was too short, but in less than 5 minutes, the feeling of tension, eyes, and even his entire head swelled again. Yes, it's about time. Zhu Tui immediately entered the illusory introspective state. In an instant, all kinds of gray genetic base points that had not been activated, white genetic base points that had been activated, a few level 2 silver genetic base points, and the light of energy that had been infused into his body appeared before Zhu Tui's eyes. Zhu Tui began to observe carefully. Less than 2 minutes later, he locked onto his target. There were a total of 11 genetic base points that were different from the other genetic base points. 6 of them had already been activated and were expanding at a low frequency. However, there were still 5 other gray genetic base points that had not been activated. They were also constantly expanding at a low frequency. It was obvious that there was energy flowing towards them. As for the other genetic base points that had not been activated, it took a long time for a bit of energy to enter them. Zhu Tui's experience told him that these 5 unactivated genetic base points had been trained by his continuous mental perception just now. They had begun to be developed by the human body. Under normal circumstances, it might take hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of such explorations to be activated. However, it was easy for Zhu Tui. Since the genetic base points of the relevant microscopic perception had been located by the training effect, he just had to focus and activate it. His mind power moved slightly. Zhu Tui locked onto one of the pulsating gray genetic base points and activated it. 15 minutes later, Zhu Tui swallowed another level E energy restoration elixir. Half an hour later, a certain part of his head itched slightly. This gray genetic base point related to microscopic perception had been activated. He suddenly felt his head relax. It felt like a rubber band had suddenly loosened. He could stretch again. The swelling in his eyes and head disappeared. The effect was obvious. Zhu Tui did not care about anything else. With a thought, he once again focused all of his mind power on the third ultra-precision nano-dimensional diagram. An indescribable sense of clarity came over him. He felt that he would be able to see the extremely blurry thing clearly if he worked a little harder. 5 minutes later, a clear word gradually appeared in Zhu Tui's mind. It was the word Zhu. The word is Chinese. The third diagram was completed. Zhu Tui activated his mind power and directly used his mind power to grab the fourth diagram. His mental perception landed on it. He had to strike while the iron was hot.